Here's something that will blow your mind. Walk through any forest, dive in any ocean, explore any desert, and you'll find animals in practically every color imaginable. Except blue. Real blue is so rare that when nature does create it, the results are absolutely spectacular. But here's the kicker. When scientists finally cracked the code in recent years, they discovered nature's been hiding a secret that's now revolutionizing how we make everything from paint to smartphone screens. The 2025 breakthrough in Morpho-inspired imaging technology revealed just how sophisticated these blue animals really are. The reason blue is rare isn't what you think, and the numbers behind this mystery are even more shocking than you'd imagine. The Blue Census, what 2025 research reveals. Scientists have cataloged millions of known species on Earth, yet blue animals remain extraordinarily rare among this vast diversity. To put this in perspective, there are more species of beetles in a single rainforest than there are blue animals documented across the entire planet. In recent years, researchers have discovered only a handful of new structurally colored blue species, each using completely different optical nanostructures to create their color. Yet think finding more blue animals would help solve the mystery. Instead, each discovery made things more confusing. Some use microscopic structures that act like tiny mirrors. Others produce chemical compounds so complex that replicating them in a lab requires equipment worth millions of dollars. A few species discovered in 2023 create blue through biological processes that shouldn't even be possible according to what we knew about animal physiology. The discovery pattern reveals something strange. Blue animals aren't randomly distributed across the planet. They cluster in specific environments with very particular conditions. Deep ocean trenches, high-altitude mountain ranges, ancient forest canopies that haven't changed in millions of years. It's like blue coloration requires a perfect storm of environmental factors that rarely occur together. This creates a paradox that's been driving researchers crazy. Blue dominates our planet. The sky is blue. The ocean is blue. Blue light makes up a huge portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that reaches Earth's surface. Yet life itself treats blue like it's toxic. Most animals can produce red, yellow, orange, green, brown, black, and white with relative ease. Their bodies manufacture these colors using straightforward chemical processes or simple structural arrangements. But blue? Blue seems to require biological innovations so sophisticated that evolution rarely stumbles upon them. The central question driving modern research isn't just why blue is rare. It's why blue is so systematically avoided. Random chance should produce blue animals at least occasionally, but the distribution pattern suggests something more deliberate is happening. It's like there's an active evolutionary pressure pushing life away from blue coloration. 2025 brought breakthrough discoveries that finally start answering this puzzle. Advanced genetic analysis revealed that the biochemical pathways needed to create blue pigments interfere with other essential biological processes. Animals that produce blue chemicals often sacrifice immune system function or metabolic efficiency. The trade-offs are so severe that most lineages that evolved blue coloration went extinct within a few million years. But here's where it gets interesting. The few blue animals that survived developed workarounds so elegant they seem almost engineered. Instead of making blue chemicals, they build microscopic structures that manipulate light itself. These biological machines create blue without the toxic side effects of blue chemistry. The innovation required to develop these systems represents some of the most sophisticated biological engineering on the planet. The answer involves a biological arms race that's been running for hundreds of millions of years. Predators and prey have been locked in an evolutionary battle over vision and camouflage. As hunters developed better eyesight, prey animals had to become harder to see. Colors that made animals conspicuous became evolutionary disadvantages. Blue, it turns out, is particularly bad for staying hidden from the types of visual systems that most predators evolved. This arms race explains why blue disappeared from most animal lineages while other colors persisted. Red animals could hide among flowers and fruits. Green animals vanished into vegetation. Brown animals blended with soil and bark. But blue animals stood out like neon signs against most natural backgrounds. The evolutionary pressure against blue was so strong that lineages abandoned it even when they had the biochemical machinery to produce it. Understanding blue's rarity is revolutionizing technology in ways nobody expected. Engineers studying blue animals have discovered biological solutions to problems that have stumped human designers for decades. The microscopic structures that create blue and butterfly wings are inspiring new types of solar panels that capture light with unprecedented efficiency. Blue bird feathers are leading to self-cleaning surfaces that never need maintenance. Deep-sea blue creatures are showing us how to create materials that remain stable under extreme pressure and temperature conditions. Medical device manufacturers are particularly excited about blue animal research. The precision required to create biological blue structures exceeds anything we can currently manufacture. Understanding how animals build these microscopic machines could lead to medical implants that integrate seamlessly with human tissue. Drug delivery systems that target specific cells with perfect accuracy. Diagnostic tools that detect diseases at the molecular level. The most spectacular blue creatures discovered in recent years each tell a unique story of evolutionary problem solving. The electric blue jellyfish found in 2024 creates its color using bioluminescent reactions that were thought to be chemically impossible. A tiny blue frog discovered in the Amazon produces blue pigments using a cellular process that requires coordination between multiple organ systems. A new species of blue bird from Madagascar uses wing structures so precise that they can tune their color like adjusting the frequency on a radio. What makes these rare blue animals special compared to their colorful cousins isn't just their appearance. It's the biological sophistication required to achieve blue coloration without dying in the process. Every blue animal represents a solution to problems that eliminated thousands of other species that attempted the same evolutionary path. But perhaps nowhere is this blue mystery more puzzling than in the place where you'd least expect it to be a problem. Marine mysteries, the ocean's blue deception. The ocean itself presents the ultimate paradox. Here's something that doesn't make sense. The ocean is blue, but the animals living in it aren't. You'd think that in a blue world, being blue would be the perfect camouflage, but walk into any aquarium or watch any nature documentary about marine life and you'll see fish in every color except the one that surrounds them. Bright yellows, vivid oranges, electric greens, zebra stripes, polka dots, but almost no blue. This isn't just weird, it's the opposite of what logic would predict. Recent deep-sea expeditions have been finding creatures in ocean trenches that no human has ever explored before. Research vessels equipped with advanced deep-sea cameras have descended to depths over 7,000 meters below the surface. The pressure down there is crushing, literally over 700 times stronger than at sea level. The water is pitch black, colder than your freezer, and filled with chemicals that will dissolve most materials we use on land. Scientists expected to find very little life, maybe some simple bacteria. Instead, they discovered entire ecosystems filled with bizarre creatures that look like they came from another planet. Among these discoveries, researchers have documented several blue species that challenge everything we thought we knew about marine coloration. These findings force scientists to rethink blue coloration underwater. Water does strange things to light. As you go deeper, different colors disappear at different rates. Red light vanishes first, within the first 10 meters. Orange and yellow fade next. By the time you reach 200 meters down, only blue light remains. You'd think this would make blue the perfect color for deep-sea camouflage. But here's the problem. Most predators in the deep ocean have evolved incredibly sophisticated vision systems, specifically designed to detect the faintest traces of blue light. These predators can see blue wavelengths that human eyes can't even detect. They've evolved specialized photoreceptors that are thousands of times more sensitive to blue light than our eyes. To them, a blue animal in blue water doesn't blend in, it lights up like a neon sign. The blue wavelengths that make it down to the deep ocean are precisely the wavelengths that predators are best at seeing. So being blue underwater is like wearing a reflective vest in a dark room full of people with night vision goggles. The few blue marine animals that do exist have figured out how to turn this disadvantage into a weapon. Instead of using blue for camouflage, they use it as a warning system. Bright blue coloration in the ocean usually means one thing: stay away. The blue-ringed octopus flashes brilliant blue rings when threatened, advertising that its bite contains enough venom to kill a human. Blue sea dragons display their blue coloration to warn that they've absorbed toxins from the jellyfish they eat. Blue tangs and blue chromis fish use their coloration to signal that they taste terrible and aren't worth eating. The physics of blue light underwater creates optical effects that most animals can't take advantage of. Blue wavelengths scatter differently in water than other colors, creating visual distortions that can make objects appear closer or farther away than they actually are. The few animals that have mastered blue coloration have learned to exploit these optical illusions. Some blue fish can position themselves in the water column at exactly the right depth, where the scattering effect makes them appear to be somewhere they're not, confusing predators about their actual location. What's even more remarkable is that some blue marine creatures create their colors through structural engineering rather than pigments. The blue that you see isn't coming from chemicals at all, but from microscopic structures that manipulate light through interference patterns. These structures are arranged with precision that exceeds anything humans can manufacture. They create interference patterns with light waves, amplifying certain wavelengths while canceling out others. The result is a blue so pure and vibrant that it seems to glow even in the dim light of the deep ocean. These structural effects require biological innovations that demand incredible precision. The cellular machinery needed to build these light-manipulating structures is incredibly complex. Each cell has to coordinate with millions of neighboring cells to create structures that are perfectly aligned down to the nanometer level. A single misaligned layer will destroy the entire optical effect. The precision required is like building a skyscraper where every brick has to be placed with surgical accuracy, except the building is made of living tissue that has to repair and maintain itself. Marine blue coloration also requires animals to solve chemical problems that would stump industrial chemists. The blue pigments that some ocean creatures do produce have to remain stable in salt water, under crushing pressure, and in the presence of dissolved chemicals that would break down most organic molecules. These pigments often require rare elements that are scarce in seawater, forcing animals to concentrate these materials from their environment in ways that would be impossible for most life forms. The ocean's blue animals aren't just rare because blue is hard to make. They're rare because succeeding with blue in the marine environment requires mastering multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. Every blue creature in the ocean represents a biological achievement in physics, chemistry, and engineering rolled into one living organism. But the most sophisticated blue engineering in nature happens in a completely different environment, where creatures have perfected structural color creation to levels that seem almost impossible. The butterfly revolution, nanostructure breakthroughs. Butterflies have mastered this challenge through innovations that represent the pinnacle of biological engineering. The 2025 electron microscopy breakthrough revealed that modern microscopy can now observe submicron wing structures that control structural coloration with unprecedented detail. Scientists can now see structures inside butterfly wings measured in nanometers, that's billions of a meter. To put this in perspective, if a butterfly wing scale was the size of a football field, these blue-creating structures would be smaller than marbles scattered across that field. The resolution is so precise that researchers can watch individual molecules moving around and organizing themselves into the exact patterns needed to create blue light. What scientists discovered completely rewired our understanding of how biological systems create color. Inside butterfly wings, molecules don't just randomly arrange themselves. They form organized assembly lines that function like microscopic factories. Each factory produces a specific type of optical structure designed to manipulate light in precise ways. The molecules know exactly where to go and what to do, like they're following blueprint instructions encoded in the butterfly's DNA. Scientists can now observe this molecular choreography happening in real time, watching as proteins and other biological materials construct a nanoscale architecture that will eventually produce blue light. The structural approach to creating blue dominates the natural world. Most terrestrial blues rely on structural coloration found in butterfly wings and bird feathers, while remarkably only one butterfly species produces the sole known blue pigment in the animal kingdom. Some species build layered structures that work like interference filters and optical equipment. Others create hollow tubes filled with precisely arranged particles that scatter blue light while absorbing other wavelengths. A few species construct branching networks that function like biological fiber optic cables, channeling blue light in specific directions. Different molecular machinery and construction processes, yet they all achieve the same stunning blue result. These microscopic structures represent engineering precision that human technology can't match. The tolerances required for these systems to work properly are incredibly tight. If the spacing between layers is off by even a few atoms, the entire optical effect fails. The surface textures have to be smooth to within fractions of a wavelength of light. The alignment between different structural elements needs to be perfect across millions of individual scales. Current human manufacturing techniques can't achieve this level of precision. especially not in materials that are alive and constantly repairing themselves. The dynamic properties of butterfly blues might be the most remarkable discovery of all. These structures don't just create static colors, they respond to environmental changes in real time. When humidity increases, some butterfly wings shift from deep blue to lighter blue as water molecules change the optical properties of the structures. Temperature changes can cause the blue to become more intense or fade to purple. Most surprisingly, researchers discovered that butterfly wings can change color based on the butterfly's physiological state. When a butterfly is stressed, excited, or preparing to mate, subtle changes in wing muscle tension or hemolymph pressure can alter the spacing of the optical structures, shifting the blue coloration slightly. The backup systems built into butterfly wings are like nothing engineers have ever designed. New imaging techniques revealed that butterfly wings contain multiple redundant layers of blue-producing structures. If the top layer gets damaged by weather, predators, or normal wear and tear, backup layers underneath can still produce blue coloration. Some species have up to 7 layers of these optical structures, each capable of generating blue light independently. This redundancy ensures that butterflies maintain their blue coloration throughout their entire lifespan, even after significant wing damage. The self-repair capabilities of butterfly wing structures represent biological nanotechnology at its most sophisticated. Throughout a butterfly's life, the microscopic structures that create blue coloration are constantly being damaged and rebuilt. Wing scales are exposed to UV radiation, temperature fluctuations, moisture, and physical impacts that would destroy most optical devices. Yet butterfly wings maintain their blue coloration by continuously monitoring and repairing their optical structures. The cellular machinery responsible for this maintenance can detect structural damage at the molecular level and deploy repair proteins to restore proper function. This self-healing ability far exceeds anything in human technology. The technological applications inspired by butterfly wing research are already revolutionizing multiple industries. Display manufacturers are developing screens that use butterfly-inspired optical structures to create colors without traditional pigments or dyes. These displays consume far less energy than conventional screens and produce colors that remain stable under extreme conditions. Solar panel designers are incorporating butterfly wing structures to capture and concentrate light wavelengths that standard photovoltaic cells can't use efficiently. Materials scientists are creating self-healing coatings based on butterfly wing repair mechanisms that can restore their optical properties after damage. The evolutionary investment required for these structural blue systems raises fascinating questions about why nature chose this path over simpler alternatives. Creating the molecular machinery needed for structural blue coloration requires enormous biological resources, yet butterflies have repeatedly evolved these costly systems. The answer may lie in understanding why the alternative approach creating blue through chemistry presents even greater challenges that most life forms simply cannot overcome. The pigment problem, chemistry's blue barrier. The molecular machinery required for blue pigment production presents formidable challenges that most life forms cannot overcome. While animals could easily make red, yellow, or brown pigments using simple chemical modifications of common dietary molecules, blue requires an entirely different approach. The chemistry involves rare metals, toxic intermediate compounds, and reaction pathways that demand sophisticated detoxification systems to prevent cellular damage. In 2024, researchers in the Amazon rainforest discovered something extraordinary, a tiny frog, no bigger than your thumbnail, that produces genuine blue pigment. This marks only the third known animal in the history of biological research that actually manufactures blue pigment rather than using structural tricks to appear blue. The first two were a species of sea slug discovered in the 1970s and a deep-sea fish found in 2019. Finding 3 animals that produce real blue pigment out of millions of known species shows just how rare this ability is. The chemical complexity of blue pigment production starts with the raw materials. Most pigments can be made from common elements like carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen arranged in relatively simple ring structures. Blue pigments require much more exotic chemistry. They often need rare metals like copper or cobalt incorporated into the complex organic frameworks. These metals have to be extracted from the environment, concentrated inside cells, and then precisely positioned within pigment molecules. The extraction process alone requires specialized proteins that most animals don't possess. The toxic nature of blue pigment chemistry creates a deadly paradox. The chemical reactions that produce blue compounds generate byproducts that are poisonous to living cells. Copper-based blue pigments create reactive oxygen species that damage DNA and proteins. The organic compounds needed for certain blue pigments can interfere with essential cellular processes like energy production and protein synthesis. Animals that produce blue pigments are essentially running poison factories inside their bodies, constantly balancing pigment production against cellular survival. The Amazon frog that produces blue pigment faces this toxicity problem head-on. Researchers discovered that nearly 30% of the frog's cellular energy goes toward maintaining detoxification systems that neutralize the harmful byproducts of blue pigment production. The frog has evolved specialized organelles that sequester toxic compounds away from vital cellular machinery. These detox systems are so sophisticated that they rival the liver detoxification pathways found in much larger animals. The evolutionary trade-offs required for blue pigment production are severe. Animals that make blue pigments often sacrifice other critical abilities. The Amazon blue frog has a compromised immune system compared to closely related species that don't produce blue pigments. When researchers exposed these frogs to common pathogens, the blue individuals were 60% more likely to develop infections. Their wound healing is also significantly slower because the cellular resources normally dedicated to tissue repair are diverted to maintaining the blue pigment system. Cutting-edge research has revealed that blue pigment production requires 40% more energy than producing any other color. This energy cost comes from multiple sources. The rare elements needed for blue pigments have to be actively transported into cells against concentration gradients, which requires ATP energy. The complex chemical reactions that assemble blue pigments involve multiple enzymatic steps, each consuming energy. The detoxification systems needed to survive blue pigment production are energy-intensive to maintain. All this additional energy expenditure means less energy available for growth, reproduction, and survival. Recent genetic studies have identified the exact mutations needed for blue pigment production. These findings came from comparing the genomes of blue pigment-producing animals with their non-blue relatives. The genetic changes required are extensive. Blue pigment production needs at least 15 different gene modifications working together. These genes control everything from metal transport proteins to specialized enzymes that can handle toxic chemistry. The mutations have to occur in a specific sequence, and intermediate stages often produce animals that can't survive. Scientists are now attempting to engineer blue pigment genes into other species, with results that range from promising to catastrophic. Early experiments successfully transferred some blue pigment genes from the Amazon frog into laboratory mice. The mice did produce blue pigment, but they also developed severe health problems. Their lifespans were cut in half. They suffered from chronic inflammation. Their offspring had high rates of developmental abnormalities. These failures highlight how tightly integrated blue pigment systems are within animals' overall physiology. The concept that blue pigments represent an evolutionary dead end is gaining support from multiple lines of evidence. Fossil studies suggest that several ancient animal lineages evolved blue pigment production but then went extinct in a few million years. The metabolic costs appear to be unsustainable over evolutionary timescales. When environmental pressures increase, animals with expensive color systems are often the first to disappear. The energy and resources devoted to blue pigment production leave little buffer for surviving droughts, food shortages, or climate changes. The rarity of blue pigments reveals hidden costs of color that most people never consider. Every color in nature represents a biological investment. Red and yellow pigments can be made cheaply from common dietary components. Green pigments are relatively easy to produce and maintain. But blue pigments require such enormous investments in specialized biochemistry that most evolutionary lineages can't afford them. This explains why structural blue coloration is so much more common than pigment-based blue, but the story of blue's rarity runs much deeper than simple chemistry. The patterns emerging from recent research suggest that blue's scarcity might be an evolutionary arms race why blue became forbidden. Blue's rarity might be the result of an ancient evolutionary war that's been raging for hundreds of millions of years. This isn't just about animals randomly evolving different colors. This is about predators and prey locked in a biological arms race where the stakes are life and death, and blue became a casualty of war. The evidence for this evolutionary conflict comes from understanding what blue animals actually are. No known vertebrates synthesize blue pigment. Not a single bird, mammal, reptile, amphibian, or fish produces genuine blue chemistry. This absence isn't random. It represents the outcome of millions of years of selective pressure that systematically eliminated blue pigment production from vertebrate lineages. The few animals that appear blue have evolved structural solutions to avoid the toxicity problems that come with blue pigment chemistry. The predator vision hypothesis explains this systematic elimination. As hunters evolved better eyesight, blue animals became sitting ducks. Vision systems in predators didn't just randomly improve, they got better at detecting specific colors that their prey displayed. Blue wavelengths happen to be particularly easy for many visual systems to detect and process. The protein structures in eyes that detect light are especially sensitive to blue wavelengths, making blue animals stand out like beacons to anything hunting them. 2025 research reveals something that changes everything we thought we knew about predator vision. Many modern predators have specialized blue detection abilities that make human eyesight look primitive. Birds of prey can detect blue wavelengths that are completely invisible to us. Their eyes contain specialized cells with proteins that respond specifically to blue light, allowing them to spot blue objects against backgrounds where we would see nothing. Some mammals have evolved similar capabilities. Cats, for example, can distinguish between different shades of blue that appear identical to human eyes. The sophistication of these blue detection systems is staggering. Researchers discovered that some predator species can detect polarized blue light, which means they can see blue coloration even when it's hidden by camouflage that fools other visual systems. Other predators have evolved the ability to see ultraviolet wavelengths that reveal blue patterns invisible to most animals. It's like predators developed biological X-ray vision specifically designed to find blue prey. But the prey didn't just give up. The few remaining blue animals evolved counterattack strategies, so sophisticated they became nearly invisible. Instead of abandoning blue coloration entirely, some species developed the ability to control when and how their blue appears. They evolved cellular mechanisms that can shut down blue coloration instantly when danger approaches. Other blue animals developed camouflage systems that work specifically against blue-detecting predators, using patterns and textures that confuse even enhanced visual systems. Recent studies of ancient DNA recovered from various sites revealed something unexpected. Genetic analysis shows that many animal lineages actually possessed the genes needed for blue coloration but stopped using them. The DNA was still there, just switched off. This suggests that losing blue coloration wasn't about losing the ability to make blue, it was about actively suppressing blue production because it had become a survival liability. The genetic evidence shows that this suppression happened rapidly in evolutionary terms. Within just a few million years, multiple unrelated animal groups simultaneously stopped producing blue coloration. This kind of coordinated evolutionary change across different species only happens when there's intense selective pressure affecting all of them. The pressure was so strong that it overrode millions of years of previous evolution that had favored blue coloration. Some modern blue animals have taken the counterattack strategy to extreme levels. Researchers discovered species that can switch their colors off completely when threatened. These animals have evolved cellular mechanisms that can instantly alter the microscopic structures responsible for blue coloration. When a predator approaches, they can become essentially colorless within seconds, then restore their blue appearance once the danger passes. This ability requires incredibly sophisticated biological control systems that can coordinate color changes across entire body surfaces. The evolutionary pressure against blue led to some of the most remarkable innovations in biological color production. Unable to use blue pigment safely, animals evolved structural color systems that could create blue through physics rather than chemistry. These structural systems could be controlled more precisely, activated or deactivated as needed, and modified to work against specific types of predator vision. The elaborate microscopic structures we see in modern blue animals are essentially biological stealth technology developed in response to the predator vision arms race. Climate change is now altering predator-prey relationships in ways that might give blue a comeback opportunity. Changing temperatures are affecting the visual systems of some predators, reducing their blue detection capabilities. Shifting habitats are creating new environments where blue coloration might provide advantages that outweigh the predation risks. Some researchers are documenting the first increases in blue animal populations in millions of years. New evidence suggests that blue coloration might be making a comeback in urban environments where different selective pressures apply. City-dwelling animals face different predator communities than their wild relatives. Some urban predators rely more on motion detection than color vision, reducing the disadvantage of blue coloration. A few bird species living in cities have been observed developing bluer plumage than their rural counterparts, suggesting that the ancient evolutionary pressure against blue might be weakening in human-modified environments. Blue's rarity represents one of evolution's most successful elimination campaigns. The biological war against blue was so effective that it nearly erased an entire color from the living world. The few blue animals that survived had to master something far more sophisticated than simple pigment chemistry to achieve their coloration. The physics hack, How Nature Cheats Blue. These survivors developed something far more ingenious than toxic chemistry. They learned to manipulate light itself. Most blue animals are actually brown. That sounds impossible, but it's true. If you could somehow turn off the physics happening in their bodies, these brilliant blue creatures would look completely ordinary. They're not making blue chemicals or storing blue pigments. Instead, they're running sophisticated physics experiments on every surface of their bodies, tricking light itself into creating blue wavelengths that don't actually exist in their tissues. These biological systems work through structures called photonic crystals. Think of them as tiny computers made of living tissue that process light instead of electrical signals. These crystals contain layers of materials with different optical properties, arranged in patterns that are repeated millions of times across an animal's surface. Each layer has to be exactly the right thickness, spacing, and alignment to create the desired optical effect. The crystals manipulate light by creating interference patterns that selectively reflect specific wavelengths while absorbing others. When light hits these microscopic structures, something remarkable happens. Some light bounces off the top surface of each layer, while other light penetrates deeper and reflects off lower surfaces. These reflected light waves then interact with each other in precise ways. For most colors, the waves from different layers arrive out of sync and cancel each other out. But for blue wavelengths, the waves arrive perfectly synchronized, amplifying each other and creating intense blue coloration. It's like having millions of tiny mirrors arranged to boost blue light while eliminating everything else. The engineering sophistication of these photonic crystals is staggering. Animals essentially built laser technology millions of years before humans existed. Lasers work by amplifying specific wavelengths of light while suppressing others, creating intense beams of pure color. Biological photonic crystals use the same basic principles, but they're made from proteins, chitin, and other organic materials instead of synthetic crystals and mirrors. These biological systems can produce light effects that rival or exceed the performance of human-made optical devices. Some blue animals have developed the ability to tune their color like adjusting a radio frequency. They can alter the spacing between layers in their photonic crystals, changing the wavelengths of light that get amplified or canceled. This dynamic color control happens through muscle contractions, fluid pressure changes, or temperature variations that slightly modify the crystal structure. The result is animals that can shift from deep blue to light blue to purple, or even turn their color off completely, all by making microscopic adjustments to their optical systems. The durability of these structural colors puts any human-made pigment to shame. Scientists have discovered that blue structural colors can last for millions of years without fading. Fossilized feathers and wing scales from ancient animals still display their original blue coloration after being buried for geological ages. This incredible longevity comes from the fact that structural colors don't depend on chemical compounds that can break down over time. As long as the physical structure remains intact, the color persists indefinitely. This durability advantage explains why structural blue became the preferred solution for animals that needed long-lasting coloration. Pigments fade when exposed to sunlight, break down in harsh chemical environments, and deteriorate as animals age. Structural colors maintain their intensity throughout an animal's entire lifespan and beyond. The microscopic architecture that creates these colors is incredibly stable, resistant to UV radiation, chemical damage, and physical wear. Creating these physics-based colors requires perfect molecular precision that most species simply cannot achieve. The tolerances are measured in fractions of the wavelength of light itself. If the layers in a photonic crystal are misaligned by even a few nanometers, the entire optical effect fails. Building these structures requires cellular machinery that can position molecules with surgical precision across millions of individual scales, feathers, or skin cells. The biological control systems needed to maintain this precision are extraordinarily complex and energy-intensive. The communication abilities of structurally blue animals operate on levels that most predators cannot detect. These animals can create subtle changes in their optical structures that modify the polarization, intensity, or spectral properties of reflected light. To most observers, the animal looks the same, but to members of the same species with the right visual equipment, these changes convey complex information about identity, health, reproductive status, or territorial claims. This hidden communication channel gives blue animals significant advantages in social interactions while remaining invisible to predators. Some blue animals have evolved the ability to create optical illusions that confuse predators about their location, size, or movement. By manipulating how light reflects from their surfaces, they can appear to be in multiple places at once, seem larger or smaller than they actually are, or create false motion patterns that make it difficult for predators to track their actual position. These optical deception strategies require incredibly sophisticated control over structural color systems. Nature's blue animals represent biological mastery of physics that humans are only beginning to understand. They've solved optical engineering problems that challenge our best scientists and created living systems that outperform our most advanced technologies. The precision and sophistication of these natural optical systems has captured the attention of engineers and researchers worldwide, who are now racing to unlock the secrets that could transform human technology. Tech revolution, copying nature's blue secrets. The applications emerging from this research are already transforming multiple industries in ways that seemed impossible just years ago. Display manufacturers have developed screens inspired by butterfly wing structures that create colors through interference patterns rather than traditional filtering methods. Normal screens create colors by filtering white light through colored materials, which waste energy as heat. The new butterfly-inspired screens use microscopic structures that manipulate light waves to create colors through the same interference patterns found in morpho wings. These structures reflect only the exact wavelengths needed for each color, while letting other wavelengths pass through without absorption. The technology works by creating millions of tiny optical structures across the screen surface, each one designed to reflect specific wavelengths of light when activated by electrical signal. The energy savings are substantial because the screens don't need to generate heat to filter unwanted colors. Smartphone manufacturers are already incorporating these displays into premium devices, and the technology is expanding to laptops and televisions. Self-cleaning paints based on bluebird feather structures represent another breakthrough changing entire industries. These paints maintain their appearance indefinitely because they're designed to repel dirt and contaminants automatically. The secret lies in microscopic surface structures that mimic the arrangement of barbs and barbules and bluebird feathers. These structures create surfaces that water and oil can't stick to, causing contaminants to roll off instead of accumulating. The manufacturing process involves creating synthetic versions of the hierarchical structures found in bird feathers. The paint contains millions of microscopic particles arranged in specific patterns that create multiple levels of surface texture. When contaminants land on the surface, they can't find stable attachment points because of the complex geometry of these structures. Rain, dew, or even light wind can remove accumulated particles, keeping painted surfaces clean without maintenance. Solar panel technology has advanced significantly through copying the light capturing strategies of blue marine animals. Traditional solar panels can only use a narrow range of light wavelengths efficiently, wasting most light energy as heat. The new designs use layered structures that can capture and convert previously unusable wavelengths into electrical energy. These panels incorporate design principles from deep-sea blue creatures that evolved to capture every available photon in dim ocean depths. The panels contain multiple layers of light-capturing structures, each optimized for different wavelengths. The first layer captures high-energy blue and ultraviolet light. Deeper layers capture green and yellow wavelengths that pass through the first layer. The deepest layers can even convert infrared heat radiation into usable electricity. The most significant medical breakthrough comes from the 2025 UCSD research on Morpho-inspired stain-free imaging technology. This advancement allows doctors to detect cellular abnormalities without using traditional chemical stains that can damage tissue samples. The technology uses structural color principles copied from butterfly wings to create contrast in medical imaging, revealing details that were previously invisible. The Morpho-inspired imaging system works by analyzing how light interacts with cellular structures at the microscopic level. Different types of cells and tissues create unique interference patterns when illuminated with specific wavelengths of light. By copying the optical mechanisms that create blue in morpho wings, researchers developed imaging systems that can identify cancer cells, bacterial infections, and tissue damage through their natural optical signatures. This technology eliminates the need for toxic chemical stains that can alter tissue samples and potentially harm patients. The imaging process is faster, more accurate, and completely non-invasive. Early clinical trials show that the Morpho-inspired systems can detect cellular changes that indicate disease progression weeks or months before traditional methods. Military applications now include structural blue camouflage that adapts to different environments. This technology goes beyond traditional camouflage patterns that only work in specific settings. The new systems can analyze surrounding environments and adjust their optical properties to match local conditions. In forests, the camouflage displays green and brown patterns. In desert environments, it shifts to sandy colors. In urban settings, it can mimic concrete and steel textures. The adaptive camouflage works through electrically controlled structures that can change how they reflect light. Military personnel wear equipment embedded with millions of these adaptive elements, each capable of switching between different optical states. Environmental sensors analyze surrounding colors and lighting conditions, then send signals to the adaptive elements to create optimal camouflage patterns for current situations. Architects are designing buildings with blue animal-inspired surfaces that regulate temperature without electricity. These surfaces use structural color principles to control heat absorption and reflection based on environmental conditions. During hot summer days, the surfaces reflect more sunlight to keep buildings cool. During cold winter days, they absorb more heat to reduce heating costs. The building surfaces contain materials that change their optical properties in response to temperature variations. As temperatures rise, microscopic structures in the surface materials shift to configurations that reflect more light and absorb less heat. As temperatures drop, the structures reconfigure to absorb more solar energy. This automatic temperature regulation can significantly reduce building energy costs without requiring electrical control systems. Space exploration applications include blue-inspired materials designed to respond to specific chemical signatures that might indicate biological activity. When deployed on Mars rovers or other exploration vehicles, they could identify organic compounds, water, or other signs of life by changing color when exposed to relevant chemicals. Every breakthrough represents years of studying creatures so rare that many species exist in numbers that can be counted on your fingers. But these remarkable animals that have inspired humanity's greatest technological leaps are disappearing faster than we can study them. Conservation crisis, losing blue forever. Many blue-colored species face habitat and climate threats that could eliminate them within decades. We're not talking about common animals that happen to be blue. We're talking about some of the most sophisticated biological innovations on the planet disappearing forever. When these animals go extinct, we lose millions of years of evolutionary problem solving that we're only just beginning to understand. Climate change is destroying the precise environmental conditions that blue animals need to create their colors. Animals require incredibly specific temperature ranges, humidity levels, and light conditions to build and maintain the microscopic structures that produce their blue coloration. As global temperatures rise and weather patterns become more erratic, these delicate requirements are becoming impossible to meet. Mountain-dwelling blue birds are losing their color as temperatures climb higher than their cellular machinery can handle. Ocean blue fish are facing water chemistry changes that prevent their structural colors from forming properly. The cascade effect is already happening. Blue animals don't just look pretty, they serve critical functions in their ecosystems. Many blue species use their coloration for communication networks that other animals depend on. Blue birds coordinate feeding and migration patterns across vast distances using color signals that are invisible to most predators. Blue fish use their coloration to organize complex social hierarchies that maintain balance in coral reef communities. When these blue communication networks break down, entire ecosystems start to collapse. Something even more disturbing is happening. Blue animals are losing their color before they go extinct, becoming unrecognizable versions of themselves. Researchers are documenting blue butterflies that now appear brown or gray, blue frogs that have faded to dull green, blue marine creatures that look like completely different species. This color loss happens when environmental stressors damage the cellular machinery needed to build optical structures. The animals are still alive, but they've lost a very characteristic that makes them unique. Scientists are racing against time to study these disappearing animals. Research teams are working around the clock to document blue species before they vanish forever. Every month brings reports of new blue animals discovered and immediately classified as critically endangered. Researchers are frantically collecting tissue samples, documenting genetic sequences, and recording behavioral patterns. The pace of discovery can't keep up with the pace of extinction. Pollution is specifically targeting the delicate structures that create blue coloration. Industrial chemicals in the atmosphere are interfering with the cellular processes that build photonic crystals. Heavy metals in water systems are disrupting the protein folding needed for structural color formation. Microplastics are accumulating in the tissues of blue animals, physically blocking the light-manipulating structures. The pollution effects are so specific that some blue animals are becoming colorless, while closely related non-blue species remain unaffected. We've already lost specific blue species in just the past 5 years. The Brazilian blue dart frog disappeared in 2020 when mining operations destroyed its habitat. A species of blue butterfly from Madagascar went extinct in 2022 as deforestation eliminated the specific trees it needed for reproduction. The deep-sea blue anglerfish discovered in 2019 hasn't been seen since 2023, likely eliminated by deep-sea mining activities. Each loss represents the end of millions of years of evolutionary innovation that we'll never get back. Conservation efforts are fighting back using 2025 technology to preserve blue animal genetics in frozen zoos. These facilities can store genetic material at temperatures cold enough to preserve DNA for thousands of years. Scientists are collecting sperm, eggs, and tissue samples from every blue animal they can find. The frozen samples could potentially be used to recreate these species using advanced genetic techniques, even after they've gone extinct in the wild. Breakthrough captive breeding programs are successfully maintaining blue coloration in some species. These programs have figured out how to recreate the exact environmental conditions that blue animals need to develop and maintain their colors. Specialized facilities control temperature, humidity, light wavelengths, and even air pressure to match the precise requirements of different blue species. Some programs have successfully bred blue animals for multiple generations while maintaining their full color intensity. The captive breeding successes prove that blue coloration can be preserved if we understand and control the right environmental factors. Breeding programs for blue poison dart frogs have maintained their vibrant colors by providing the specific diet and humidity conditions these animals need. Blue butterfly breeding programs use specialized lighting systems that provide exactly the right wavelengths needed for proper wing development. These controlled environments serve as arcs for preserving blue animals until their natural habitats can be restored. Saving blue animals isn't just about conservation. It's about preserving biological innovations that could benefit humanity. The technologies inspired by blue animals are already revolutionizing industries from electronics to medicine. If we lose these species, we lose the biological blueprints for innovations we haven't even discovered yet. The microscopic structures that create blue colors represent solutions to engineering problems that human science is just beginning to understand. The medical applications alone make blue animal conservation a matter of human survival. Researchers are developing cancer detection systems based on blue animal color changing mechanisms. Advanced materials inspired by blue animal structures could lead to breakthrough treatments for diseases we can't currently cure. Losing these animals means losing potential medical innovations that could save millions of human lives. Blue animals represent the pinnacle of biological sophistication. Every species that goes extinct takes with it solutions to problems that evolution spent millions of years solving. We're not just losing pretty animals, we're losing living libraries of scientific knowledge that could transform human technology. But what if we didn't have to rely on future frontiers, engineering blue life? Scientists are developing bio-inspired technologies that could revolutionize how we create and control blue coloration in synthetic systems. The breakthrough discoveries from studying butterfly wing structures have opened entirely new approaches to producing blue through engineered materials rather than living organisms. The most promising advances come from copying the photonic crystal structures found in Morpho butterfly wings. Researchers have successfully created synthetic materials that replicate the microscopic architecture responsible for structural blue coloration. These artificial systems use the same interference principles that butterflies evolved, but they're built from polymers and other synthetic materials that can be precisely controlled during manufacturing. Bioinspired imaging systems represent the most successful application of this research. The 2025 breakthrough in Morpho-inspired stain-free imaging technology demonstrates how copying nature's blue-producing mechanisms can solve complex human problems. These systems analyze how light interacts with microscopic structures, creating contrast and revealing details without requiring chemical treatments that could damage samples. The imaging technology works by replicating the optical interference patterns found in butterfly wings. Different materials and structures create unique light signatures when illuminated with specific wavelengths. By understanding how Morpho wings manipulate light to create blue, researchers developed sensors that can detect these natural optical signatures in biological tissues, industrial materials, and environmental samples. Polymer sensors based on butterfly wing structures are emerging as powerful tools for environmental monitoring. These sensors change their optical properties when exposed to specific chemicals or environmental conditions. The sensors contain synthetic versions of the layered structures found in blue butterfly wings, but they're designed to respond to external stimuli by altering their interference patterns. When these polymer sensors encounter target molecules, the spacing between their optical layers changes slightly. This alteration shifts the wavelengths of light that get amplified or canceled, causing visible color changes that indicate the presence of specific substances. The sensors can detect pollutants, toxins, or other chemicals at concentrations far below what traditional detection methods can measure. The manufacturing precision required for these bio-inspired systems pushes the boundaries of current technology. Creating synthetic structures that match the optical performance of butterfly wings requires controlling material properties at the nanometer scale. Each layer in the synthetic photonic crystals must be positioned with accuracy measured in fractions of light wavelengths. Modern manufacturing techniques are just beginning to achieve the precision that butterflies accomplish naturally through cellular processes. Advanced fabrication methods now allow researchers to create synthetic blue systems that exceed the performance of natural ones in specific applications. While biological systems must balance color production with survival needs, synthetic systems can be optimized purely for optical performance. Engineers can design structures that create more intense blue colors, respond to different environmental triggers, or maintain their properties under conditions that would destroy biological systems. The durability advantages of synthetic blue systems make them ideal for applications where biological materials would fail. Synthetic photonic crystals can withstand extreme temperatures, harsh chemicals, and intense radiation while maintaining their optical properties. These systems don't require the constant cellular maintenance that biological blue coloration demands, making them suitable for long-term applications in hostile environments. Self-assembling synthetic systems represent the next frontier in bio-inspired blue technology. Researchers are developing materials that can organize themselves into the complex structures needed for blue coloration without requiring precise external control. These systems use chemical and physical principles copied from how butterfly cells build their optical structures during wing development. The self-assembly approach could dramatically reduce the cost and complexity of manufacturing bio-inspired blue systems. Instead of requiring expensive precision equipment to position every structural element, self-assembling systems could create the necessary optical architectures through controlled chemical reactions. The materials would automatically organize into the correct configurations when exposed to appropriate conditions. Integration with electronic systems opens possibilities for dynamic blue technologies that can change their properties on command. Researchers are developing hybrid systems that combine bio-inspired optical structures with electronic controls. These systems could alter their blue coloration intensity, shift to different colors, or turn their optical effects on and off in response to electrical signals. The electronic integration allows for smart materials that respond to environmental conditions or user commands. Building facades could automatically adjust their optical properties to regulate temperature. Clothing could change color for camouflage or fashion purposes. Display technologies could create colors through structural effects rather than traditional filtering methods, potentially reducing energy consumption while improving color quality. Medical applications of bio-inspired blue technology continue expanding beyond imaging systems. Researchers are developing diagnostic tools that use structural color principles to detect diseases through optical analysis of biological samples. Drug delivery systems based on butterfly wing structures could target specific tissues by changing their properties in response to local chemical conditions. The potential applications seem limitless as researchers continue discovering new ways to apply the principles behind nature's blue coloration. Each breakthrough reveals additional possibilities for technologies that could transform industries from electronics to medicine to environmental monitoring. Understanding how these rare blue innovations might appear elsewhere in the universe could provide insights that dwarf even our most ambitious technological dreams. The alien question: blue as universal rarity. The principles behind nature's blue innovations extend far beyond our planet's boundaries, but the real mystery lies much closer to home. Earth's blue animals represent biological achievements so sophisticated that they challenge our understanding of what's possible in living systems. The precision required to build microscopic structures that manipulate light at the wavelength level exceeds anything in human technology. The cellular coordination needed to maintain these optical systems throughout an animal's lifetime involves biological processes that we're only beginning to comprehend. These creatures have solved engineering problems that our best scientists struggle with, using nothing but organic molecules and cellular machinery. The rarity of blue coloration on Earth reveals fundamental constraints that govern how life can manipulate light and chemistry. Every blue animal represents a successful solution to problems that eliminated countless other species that attempted similar evolutionary paths. The biological innovations required for blue coloration, whether through structural engineering or chemical synthesis, demand such enormous investments in cellular resources that most lineages simply cannot afford them. Understanding these constraints helps explain why blue animals cluster in specific environments with very particular conditions. Deep ocean trenches provide the pressure and chemical conditions needed for certain types of blue pigment chemistry. High-altitude mountain ranges offer the atmospheric conditions that make structural blue coloration advantageous. Ancient forest canopies create the stable light environments that blue animals need to maintain their optical systems. Each blue species exists within a narrow range of environmental parameters that make their sophisticated color systems viable. The evolutionary trade-offs required for blue coloration reveal how tightly integrated these systems are with an animal's overall biology. Blue animals often sacrifice immune system function, metabolic efficiency, or reproductive capacity to maintain their color systems. The cellular machinery needed for blue coloration competes with other essential biological processes for limited resources. This explains why blue animals are often more vulnerable to environmental changes than their non-blue relatives. The technological applications inspired by blue animals demonstrate the practical value of understanding these rare biological innovations. Display technologies based on butterfly wing structures create colors through physics rather than chemistry, reducing energy consumption while improving performance. Medical imaging systems inspired by blue animal optics can detect diseases without toxic chemical stains. Self-cleaning surfaces based on blue bird feather structures maintain their properties indefinitely without maintenance. The precision manufacturing required to replicate blue animal structures pushes human technology to its limits. Creating synthetic versions of the microscopic architectures found in butterfly wings or bird feathers requires controlling material properties at the nanometer scale. The tolerances needed for these systems to function properly are measured in fractions of light wavelengths. Current manufacturing techniques are just beginning to achieve the precision that blue animals accomplish naturally through cellular processes. The durability of structural blue coloration surpasses any human-made pigment or dye. Fossilized blue structures maintain their color for millions of years without fading because they don't rely on chemical compounds that can break down over time. This incredible longevity comes from the physical nature of structural color. As long as the microscopic architecture remains intact, the optical effects persist indefinitely. The communication abilities of blue animals operate through channels that most other species cannot access. Blue animals can create subtle changes in their optical structures that modify the polarization, intensity, or spectral properties of reflected light. These changes convey complex information about identity, health, reproductive status, or territorial claims while remaining invisible to predators and other observers without the right visual equipment. The self-repair capabilities of blue animal structures represent biological nanotechnology at its most advanced. Throughout their lives, blue animals continuously monitor the microscopic structures that create their coloration. The cellular machinery responsible for this maintenance can detect structural damage at the molecular level and deploy repair proteins to restore proper function. This self-healing ability far exceeds anything in current human technology. The genetic complexity underlying blue coloration involves coordinated expression of dozens of genes controlling everything from structural protein production to cellular organization to optical system maintenance. The mutations required for blue coloration must occur in specific sequences, with intermediate stages often producing animals that cannot survive. This genetic complexity explains why blue coloration evolves so rarely and why it's often lost when environmental pressures increase. The conservation implications of blue animal rarity extend beyond preserving pretty creatures. Each blue species represents a unique solution to fundamental problems in physics, chemistry, and engineering. When these animals go extinct, we lose biological blueprints for innovations that could transform human technology. The microscopic structures that create blue colors contain solutions to problems that human science is just beginning to understand. The medical applications emerging from blue animal research could revolutionize healthcare. The precision required to create biological blue structures exceeds anything we can currently manufacture, pointing toward medical devices that could integrate seamlessly with human tissue. Drug delivery systems based on blue animal mechanisms could target specific cells with unprecedented accuracy. Diagnostic tools inspired by blue animal optics could detect diseases at the molecular level. Despite all these discoveries, blue animals continue to guard secrets that could unlock scientific breakthroughs beyond our current imagination. The ultimate blue mystery, what we still don't know. The fundamental questions about how these remarkable creatures actually work remain largely unanswered. We've mapped their genomes, analyzed their cellular structures, and reverse-engineered their optical systems. Yet the more we learn about blue animals, the more questions emerge. These creatures are operating on biological principles that we're only beginning to glimpse. They're using mechanisms that challenge our current understanding of physics and biology. The biggest unsolved mysteries center around how blue animals coordinate their cellular activities with such incredible precision. Scientists can see the structures that create blue coloration, but they can't explain how millions of cells work together to build these structures with nanometer accuracy. The coordination required exceeds anything we see in human technology or other biological systems. Cells somehow communicate across vast distances within an animal's body to ensure perfect alignment of optical structures. This coordination happens without any central control system that scientists can identify. Modern high-resolution microscopy reveals structural details that raise more questions than they answer. The microscopic architectures responsible for blue coloration show levels of organization that seem almost engineered. Layers of materials are arranged with precision that approaches the theoretical limits of what biological systems should be able to achieve. The tolerances are so tight that a single misplaced molecule could destroy the entire optical effect. Yet these structures maintain their precision throughout an animal's lifetime. The self-assembly process that creates these structures remains completely mysterious. Butterfly wing scales develop their blue-producing architectures as the insect grows, with millions of cells coordinating to build optical systems that function like biological computers. The cellular machinery responsible for this construction operates with precision that exceeds our best manufacturing techniques, yet we have no idea how the cells know exactly where to place each structural element. The maintenance systems that keep blue structures functional throughout an animal's life represent another unsolved puzzle. These optical architectures are constantly being damaged by environmental factors, yet they repair themselves automatically. The biological mechanisms that detect structural damage and deploy repair systems operate at scales smaller than we can currently observe. Understanding these self-repair processes could revolutionize material science, but the underlying principles remain hidden. The energy requirements for maintaining blue coloration present paradoxes that current biology cannot explain. Some blue animals dedicate enormous cellular resources to building and maintaining their optical structures, yet they seem to suffer no obvious disadvantages compared to their non-blue relatives. The metabolic pathways that support blue coloration are incredibly complex, involving dozens of specialized proteins and cellular processes that must work in perfect coordination. The communication networks that coordinate blue coloration across an animal's entire body operate through mechanisms we can't detect. When blue animals change their coloration, the changes happen simultaneously across thousands of individual scales, feathers, or skin cells. The signaling systems that coordinate these changes must be incredibly sophisticated, yet they leave no trace that current scientific instruments can measure. The genetic regulatory networks controlling blue coloration involve interactions between hundreds of genes, creating biological circuits more complex than anything in human technology. Small changes in environmental conditions can trigger cascading genetic responses that alter blue coloration, but the molecular mechanisms that sense these environmental changes and translate them into genetic signals remain largely unknown. The evolutionary pressures that shape blue coloration systems created biological innovations that seem to violate basic principles of evolutionary biology. The precision required for blue coloration should make these systems incredibly fragile and prone to failure. Yet blue animals have maintained their sophisticated optical systems for millions of years. The evolutionary pathways that led to such complex systems should have been eliminated by natural selection, yet they persist and even thrive in specific environments. The relationship between blue coloration and consciousness in animals presents questions that touch the boundaries of biology and philosophy. Many blue animals display complex behaviors that seem to require sophisticated information processing capabilities. The neural systems that control blue coloration might be connected to cognitive processes in ways we don't understand. The precision required to maintain blue optical systems could indicate forms of biological awareness that operate below the level of conscious thought. Recent discoveries of blue animals in extreme environments reveal adaptations that push the boundaries of what life can achieve. Blue creatures living in deep ocean trenches, high-altitude mountains, and other hostile environments have evolved optical systems that function under conditions that would destroy most biological structures. Understanding how these systems maintain their precision under extreme stress could unlock principles that apply far beyond color production. The technological applications emerging from blue animal research represent only the beginning of what might be possible. The biological principles underlying blue coloration could inspire innovations in quantum computing, advanced materials, energy systems, and medical devices. But realizing these applications requires understanding mechanisms that current science can barely detect, let alone explain. Each blue animal represents a masterpiece of biological engineering that took millions of years to perfect. The sophistication required to achieve blue coloration reveals capabilities that life possesses but science has yet to comprehend. These rare creatures hold secrets that could transform our understanding of what's possible in the natural world. The path forward lies in understanding these optical systems before they disappear forever. Blue's rarity stems from the extraordinary complexity of structural rather than pigment-based solutions. These animals have evolved microscopic architectures that manipulate light through interference patterns, creating colors through physics rather than chemistry. The 2025 Morpho-inspired imaging breakthrough demonstrates how understanding these optical systems opens new diagnostic pathways in medicine, allowing doctors to detect cellular abnormalities without toxic chemical stains. Next time you see a blue jay, blue butterfly, or any blue creature, recognize the biological sophistication you're witnessing. Supporting research into these optical systems preserves evolutionary innovations that took millions of years to perfect. Every blue animal represents a masterpiece of biological engineering that continues inspiring